Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Prepper Soul Alone Show, Season 9, Episode 1, wrap up show. Thanks for joining me on today's episode. Just got the first episode wrapped up, man. I'm going to jump into this, kind of dive into everything that kind of happened in the first episode. And in my opinion, overall, I thought, this episode was a little bit lackluster and not really much kind of going on. So also, if you're joining and you kind of don't know or wanting to watch the show later, there is going to be some spoilers, in this show. So you may want to come back to this after the show, just after you watch the show, to come back and kind of get a little bit of update there. But there definitely will be some spoilers in today's episode, and I'll also be sharing my screen too as well. I actually have the episode pulled up, and we can kind of go through and watch a little bit of the scenes there. But I'll get that pulled up here in a second here. But just wanted to kind of start out on this episode. As always, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitter at PrepperSoul. So give me a follow. Helps out, the algorithm, those kind of things. And also the YouTube channel too as well. You can always click like, subscribe, also helps out the channel, those kind of things. So definitely up to you. So Alone last Thursday, 9 p.m., new episode started, season 9. We kind of get a first quick intro of all the contestants. So kind of show them, preparing to go to their spots, getting on the helicopter, those kind of things. So that was kind of the first couple episodes showing, kind of like a little bit of the preview kind of going in. But then our first contestant who we meet is actually Carrie Lee. She is the first contestant that we meet on the show, and Carrie is actually one of the oldest competitors on the group. She's currently at 1 pull up her age one more time here. She's at 57 years old. So, and I know that we talked about that in the last episode, the last show on YouTube, is how old she is, kind of going into Alone. How it's a little bit on the older side, so a little bit of an uphill battle for her. But she is actually the second oldest to ever be on the show, and then the oldest person ever to be on the show on Alone was Peter Brockdorf, and he was back in season 4. He was 61 years old, and he actually lasted. He actually lasted about 74 days, so pretty long time, for the age. So Carrie is the first person we meet, first female. She kicks off the show. The current temperature there in Labrador is probably about 61 degrees, when the show kind of starts off. And she actually falls out of the helicopter. So a little bit of a rough landing there for her right off the bat. And pull up here, kind of minus the play button there. There she kind of is falling out of the helicopter right off of the bat. And they kind of go through a little, another bio of her. She lives off the grid there in Idaho, actually in a yurt, and pretty much is living off the land, no electricity, no nothing. When it comes to the way kind of she lives, and she wants to win the show and open up a survivor school. So she kind of talks about that. And as soon as she, kind of lands, when the helicopter kind of flies away, she pretty much starts right off the bat, begins to kind of find some tinder, and begins to start a fire and start on her shelter because they have a storm coming in, and they've got, and in this environment they have up to 60-mile-an-hour winds. So those offshore winds can get up there pretty high, so that kind of also makes the weather change on a dime. So it could be sunny one minute, next thing you know, storms coming in. So those kind of things, and that area gets about 60 inches of rain a year. So a lot of rain in that area. And so the weather is going to, be changing a lot, throughout, throughout that episode there. Got the clouds moving in there on the show. So we meet Carrie Lee right off of the bat there, and starts getting a fire, kind of get her shelter going, kind of to survive, that storm. So this is kind of kicking off, day one. And then we meet Benji, the second competitor on the second person that we meet on the show. There's him. And he starts right off the back to look for a place for shelter. So he's that's one of his main goals to kind of start out with, is to go look for this campsite. He's a big game hunter. He also has a family and a young daughter. And I think that also comes into play, later on as, that's a mental challenge, kind of moving forward. Those can take a toll on you. And I like his mentality kind of going in. He stated a couple times there in the show that he wants to be the old, wants to break the record of over 102 days, which I think is cool. And then, like he would talk about when he was talking about, what he would do if he'd win. It wasn't, kind of what I would do. It was when I will win the competition. So good mindset, mentally kind of going in, wants to break the record, knows he wants to win, which is pretty cool. But he begins eating berries and, stockpiling those. And then he spots a squirrel, and he uses bow and arrow, kills the squirrel right off the bat. So that's our first animal we kind of see off the bat. If you remember back in season 8, first episode, first contestant, there was a bear and a mountain lion right off of the bat. So a little bit, tamer animals, this season, but he ends up, killing a squirrel, gets his dinner, and then the storm's rolling in, and the heavy rain's starting to begin. And Benji pretty much does not have a campsite, so he's getting drenched with rain. So a big time mistake right off the bat, day one, but luckily no harm and no foul there. And hopefully, he kind of learns, from those mistakes there. Yeah, there's a little bit of his family there. And I didn't timestamp any of these, so I may jump ahead. So we'll see.
I don't do mornings. Dad, though, he loves.
Yeah, sorry about that. Got a commercial there. I'll stop that for now. I'll let that play through and get through that first commercial there. But like I said before, gets a squirrel, so he gets dinner for the night, which is a good thing. But the heavy rains kind of drenches him. So hopefully, he pretty much just found like a tree to kind of hide under until the rain passes there. So, and then we meet one of the third person on the show, and that is Jessie, and kind of go into her background. She has a large family and a boyfriend, and I always bring up the family and people around just because of the mental toll that it takes on you. And I think those things come into play, during the season. So, and she's also exploring. The helicopter drops her off. She's exploring, and she finds bear tracks. So, obviously, those are in the area, pretty large, bear tracks too, as well. So those are always something to kind of, watch out for during the season. And she starts right off the bat, begins making a shelter, and she also was, also bringing up um, how she wants to be one of the first female winners. So she definitely has that, that winner's mentality going in of what, kind of what she wants to do, wants to be kind of the first winner on the show. And I will get back to sharing my screen there. The commercials are finally over. So let me pull that back up here, and here she is now cutting wood, starting to begin that shelter. And she does make a pretty significant, nice shelter there. There's some of her woodworking back in her hometown. That's not what she actually built on the show here. But as she's and there she is there, and as she is sleeping there, she does hear um, some sounds in the woods there. So as she's sleeping at night, she does hear sounds in the woods, as she is sleeping. So kind of a little bit of false alarm there, but her first night in, hearing some sounds there in the woods, and those kind of things. So then we jump into day 2. We go back to Carrie, and she pretty much shows a number of the fly bites on her body through the night. So a lot of these like black flies that have been, can bite you during the day, and it happened to a number of the contestants there. And also for the area, the temperatures kind of fall below freezing 7 months out of the year. So very cold. It's going to start getting, pretty much cold here, in the next couple of weeks. And now Carrie kind of begins searching for her shelter too as well. So she's on the hunt, for her shelter. And then she spots a grouse, in the trees. So she gets ready to, kind of go after this thing, shoots her first shot, misses that grouse, but keeps on stalking it until, for a couple of minutes. And then she finally sees it come out into the open, and she kills that grouse. So she gets a big, day 2 gets another meal. That's also a confidence booster for people out there. So, if you go, a couple hours, couple of days without food, you can really get down on yourself mentally, those kind of things. So whenever, you're out, you're out there and you actually get a decent meal, that's a big confidence booster. So she begins kind of skinning that, and starts to begin eating that bird and for her dinner. So, and then we meet let's see, that'll be the 4th contestant on the show, Juan Pablo. This is now day 2. And right off the bat shows kind of him not navigating the land very well, kind of having trouble getting his footing, just to show him kind of falling down, kind of right off the bat. And he's just having trouble just kind of navigating the land, not used to the land. And then they kind of go into, he has a girlfriend, wanting to start a family, those kind of things. And he's up pretty big, looks like he has a long resume of, great survival events, kind of did like 100 days and, the frozen environment there in Alaska. So obviously used to the cold weather, the snow, those kind of things. So he should be, pretty well suited for, this environment that he's going into. And they kind of show him kind of come across some bear droppings there as well. And so he also starts to build a shelter as well. So he's building a shelter, and I'm going to pull up maybe some pull up another one. It's another one of these commercials. So I'm just I'll find it right after one of the commercials. And so he starts building a shelter, starting on that early, which is good. And then he also sees a squirrel, so which he's going to start, maybe trying to get that. And also said he hears a big animal, so maybe it is a bear. Don't actually see the bear there, because I'm trying to actually keep track of all the animals that we do see on the show, and I'll give a live ticker and keep up with the stats and post those on Twitter and things like that. But he finds a big pile of trash, and he begins building a chimney. Really cool chimney setup. Starts building the foundation with clay and mud. So he's got the chimney as his main focal point of his shelter. So I'm guessing he's going to start building that chimney, his shelter around that chimney. Really cool. Puts on some fire retardant fabric around so it doesn't catch fire to his shelter. So really building up. So great find there with the cans and the trash that he found, and any trash that's found, kind of throughout the show can be used, throughout their journey. So if they find anything on the beach, anything they can use, that is fair game to add with their 10 items. And so he's got that a good little chimney there that he's going to have probably for the rest of the show there. So, and that pretty much ended day 2, and now we enter into day 3, and we meet Jaquez. This is day 3. He already has a shelter built already, and they kind of show him with his shelter. He's laying down sleeping. This is day 3, and they kind of go into his background. So. And he says that he has, a rough childhood growing up. He's encountered many encounter with bears face to face many a times throughout his life. So it's something he's really not bothered by when it comes to with the animals. So he's one of the youngest on the show. Has a girlfriend, and then as they kind of go into his background a little bit. He finds bear droppings really close to his shelter, and then there's another way. He finds an actual bear trap as he is navigating. The lands. He finds the bear trap there, which that can also be used. A really good one. It's like a metal one, something that you could really get hurt with. If you end up, kind of hurting yourself, you get really hurt by those bear traps. So, and I'm actually going to share my screen here. I actually got Quez pulled. I actually got his. A little bit of. I believe that's Juan Pablo's shelter. Hopefully, I can get a picture of his. Of his chimney there. Which I didn't. Now I have to go back to, there is, I'll get that back, that set up. But Jaquez finds that bear trap, and that's a big find for him. And then, like I said, we're entering into day 4 already, and we meet Igor. He has not found a flat spot for his shelter. They actually showed him sleeping on some rocks there. When we first meet him. So, and they do put up a thing where he has not eaten any protein in over 4 days. So he's a little bit on, struggling to get some food in him. 4 days in. And they kind of go into his background, has a wife, those kind of things. And I also show where the flies have actually been bitten him too as well. He's been wearing like a neck gaiter and trying to protect him from those. But they show a lot of those fly bites. And So he's pretty much been kind of wandering around the land trying to find a flat spot to build his shelter. And he eventually goes back to the same spot that he went to, that the helicopter dropped him off at, and that's where he's going to build his shelter. So and so he's pretty much kind of been eating seaweed stew, pretty much, trying to get his calories in, get his proteins in, those kind of things. There is a picture I got pulled up here. There's a picture of his chimney that that Juan Pablo has built. So I know I'm kind of jumping back into day 2 there, but there is his chimney. Take a look, and then this is a little bit of that fire retardant material that he has to put around that chimney so it doesn't catch his shelter on fire, those kind of things. Yeah, and this is where we actually meet Jaquez, the oldest one. That's where there's his shelter. It's kind of going back into his yep, and then there is the bear trap that he found. So it's the real deal when it comes to his bear trap, things like that, which is pretty cool find there. Once again, another commercial. So I'll pause that, let that go through, because I don't want YouTube to flag anything. So yeah, now we're kind of at Igor. He slept on some rocks, hasn't really consumed any protein in the last couple of days, and so he's eating the seaweed stew. So getting his protein that way. Then we go ahead and go back to day 4. Jaquez, he said his stomach's growling. Finally spots a squirrel. And this is day 4 in, and he actually shoots his first squirrel, kind of right off the bat. And then he spots a grouse immediately after that. So, and he is able to hit him with an arrow, and actually get double the meat right off the bat. So that's a good 2 win for him. And so he actually begins to cook that and begins eating that, his 2 meals there. So and then the show kind of goes back to day 4, and this let me go back to Benji. Which I'll pull that up here in a second. He kind of does like a little bit of like a weight check. So he says he's probably around 200 and 220 pounds. So he's kind of going to go through his weight check and kind of tell everybody how much he kind of weighs, just to kind of get you an idea of how much weight he's probably going to lose, during the show. But he is a very experienced fisherman. So that's one of the first things he's kind of doing. So he finds an actual kind of like little river there, and he gets his fishing pole out and begins fishing, and gets some rope with a long stick, kind of like huckberry fin style. I'm going to pull that up, trying to get that pulled up here so you can take a look of kind of how he fishes, and he begins fishing in this local river that's pretty close to him. And as I said, his background is very experienced when he comes to fishing. So he ends up catching, like, comes right off the bat, kind of catches like a small brook trout really small. And then he goes on pretty much like a buffet. And next thing you know, he's catching 2, 3, 4, 5 plus brook trout right out of this little stream here, and it's almost like a endless kind of buffet for him. So an excellent find early on, 4 days in. In total, he ends up catching about I'd probably say 12 plus 12 plus trout right then and there. 12 little trouts, and he ends up frying up those trouts, and that's his dinner for the end of the show there. So that was how the show ends. So we ended up meeting Benji, Jaquez, Igor, Juan Pablo, Carrie, Jesse. So we meet the 6 there. So we get to see who we're going to be meeting in the next episode. Let me see here. So we still need to meet Adam, Terry, Tom, and Timojin. I guess that's how you say his name. I might have butchered that. So we got 4 more people we're going to meet in the next episode. And when it comes to the animal count, 2 squirrels, 2 grouse, and 12 fish. So we got some pretty good animals, and I'm going to share my screen here and kind of show you what the fishing looked like here. Let's see. There we go. So there's Benji. He's hopefully I can get a decent shot of his his fishing pole, which I should show here in a second. There's kind of like his long fishing pole right there in that stream there. So all these trout are coming downstream into this little section right here. I believe it's probably these 2 streams probably entered to equal this one. And he's just going to town on this little section of creek. Is where he's filming that. I mean, frying up those fish up there. Yep, and there's all 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's just 12 fish right there. So a great day of fishing there for Benji. So really good episode. It's going to be a very good season. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to meet, the next 4 contestants. So I will probably have a new video probably out on, I usually watch the show a couple of times just to get all the notes down and make sure I get all the animals counted, those kind of things. So probably on Monday, I will get a new video out. So click like, subscribe. I appreciate everything. And I will see you guys on Monday. Have you a great rest of the weekend. Remember, Alone is on Thursdays, 9 p.m. on History Channel. Have you a great rest of the week. God bless.